That's 20. That's 22 pounds, dude. That's a solid chunk of weight.
Yeah, but like, cause like I'm fighting when I fight Colin, he's 120 kilos. I weigh 80
Colin's a big
kilos.
boy.
Yeah, I weigh 80 kilos, and like, I don't. Sometimes when I'm fighting, I was like, why am I so exhausted? Like I'm fitter than this, but then I remember I'm pushing around possibly 150 kilos worth of weight when I'm only 80 kilos.
You're also fighting a gorilla.
Yeah, he's a
Colin
beast.
Campbell. Colin Campbell is not small, bro.
No,
Like,
he's huge.
is he on
Yeah,
your
that's-
team? Is he where he's out by
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, he's on our team now. Thank God.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to fighting him.
Because we
I restarted OBS to see if that would help the stream. Dun 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 dun. Not yet. I think we're on
how much do
again.
you weigh, Paul?
If I were to do it in kilos, probably be about 125.
Big boy.
I'm 6 foot
You're
fucking
like,
seven.
What, 6'7"? Yeah. I was gonna say you're a big dude.
Thanks.
Okay, now we're looking great. Now I think I just had to restart OBS because I'm ridiculous. I apologize to everybody out there. If it turns this shit again, I'm just gonna record what the hell we do and I'll load it up as a video. But I want to thank everybody who's in chat. Fuck it. Okay, so y'all are really far away from each other. You have like 8 teams floating around in Australia. What other insanity you got going on over there?
Well, Bryce, are you guys fighting much? Well, you would be now because of COVID.
Yeah, so it's actually been a pretty good time for us with the COVID restrictions easing up, and more importantly, we just found ourselves a new gym to train at and set up at. So we got an awesome, huge undercover area. We got about 10 by 35 meter area that we can do what we will. Got a gym set up one end, striking area set up in the middle, and then a decent sized list set up at the other end. And we're going to be using that same venue for the national selection end of next month. So
Nice.
It's a pretty exciting time for Havoc.
Well, the only thing Queensland is we're training out of an MMA gym, but we can't armor up. So we've got to armor up. We still have to do the old school list in a park or just a paddock.
Mhm. Why can't you
but-
armor up? Just the gym doesn't want you to.
Well, I think the MMA gym's quite small. So and like I think armor would like screw up all the mats and like the interior, which is fine. But we always go out to the T Warriors have a cage that we do a lot of cage fighting. You've probably seen.
Yeah, they've got
Hashtag
a
fighting,
sick
yeah.
setup. I love watching
It's
their
sweet.
fights.
It's really good. Annoying thing is you don't really get any list experience. So
Yeah.
list grappling and stuff like that you really want to train for. Obviously the tournaments and national tournaments you can't actually do,
Mhm.
which is good for people watching, but shit for your training.
Mhm.
So like. If your back's against a list, you're obviously not going to think about reaching over and trying to grapple. You're just thinking about putting your back on the list like that. So I think instinctively now, if I go to a list, I'm not going to grab it straight away. So I think I just need to retrain that. Which
Okay.
is going to be annoying.
Do you find that you have more of an HMB focus or more of an IMCF focus in Australia?
HMB.
Definitely.
Definitely HMB.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because we've actually been really lucky in Australia in terms of when there was all that politics and splits between HMB and IMCF, we're all quite well in the understanding that we'll just go where the best fighters were, and at the time, best fighters were from Russia. So
Yep.
we all decided, just as a unanimous group, let's put aside politics and we'll just focus on HMB, which is where the best fighters are.
Mhm.
If IMCF starts developing the best fighters, we decide that's where we're going to go. And luckily, we managed to avoid the vast majority of the politics from a while back, and I think we came out stronger for it.
I don't really understand. Like, I know that like the U.S. has its own politics, and I really don't. We're not getting into the politics of steel fighting. It's really not like where I want to be at about this. This is about fighting. But like, I really don't get it, and like, I don't understand how the European countries have all had to deal with it. I know that everybody's had their own issues in dealing with stuff. And like, did you like lose fighters over all that? Like, Australia, you guys had a pretty solid situation. You didn't really have to worry about that too much. I knew that there was a fair degree of like loss of fighters in other countries because of those splits, and arguments and disagreements and everything else like that. Actually, Bryce, I think I fought you at my first IMCF. in
Would that be
Malberg.
in Malbork?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Malberg.
Yep. We would have gone up against you guys, which I was still very
Say the rest of the story.
there.
Huh?
Say the rest of the story, Paul. Say the rest of the story.
I don't think you guys lasted more than 20 seconds against us.
So that was actually an interesting one because we were heading to Prague the following week.
So did we.
Battle Nations.
Yeah.
We just had myself and 4 other fighters. So we managed to just scratch together a team to go Malbork. So we're like, screw it, why not? Let's get some extra experience in.
Yep.
And yeah, it was good.
You're already on the continent. You might as well, like, if it's only like 8 hours on a train to get from one to the other, just go into Gdansk, get to Malbork, and then go to Prague from there. That's kind of what we did, because I looked at my buddy Andrew and I'm like, okay, if we're gonna be over there and the next one's next week, we're gonna just go do that one too, 'cause it's gonna be more fun.
Yeah.
You go 2.5 weeks on campaign. What do you want?
Yeah, exactly. We're flying such a long way. Might as well try to get 2 or 3 tournaments in. I think that year, or it might have been the following year, managed to get Austria, Prague, and then up to Denmark for a 3rd tournament. We did 3 in a row.
There you
And,
go.
yeah, we weren't functioning too well after enough for 3 weeks in a row. Yeah, my body hurt.
I mean, you guys kind of have the same situation that we do here in the U.S. Like, going to a bot and going to an IMCF is a long trip. It is a big deal to make that trip. We're over in Europe. It's like, oh, we're going to get on a bus for 10 hours. Like, yeah, it's still a long trip, but, like, you're still within the continent kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're not trying to fly with armor and everything else like that. So, the main the whole idea is, like, what is your perspective on Buhurt? How is it in your country compared to some other countries? And what do you see as in the sport and how it's unique in your area?
That's all you, Bryce. Boy, experience overseas the matter.
Well, the sport in general in Australia is growing really, really rapidly. With the opening of additional gyms, more and more teams are getting larger and larger.
Mm-hmm.
And the public knowledge of the sport, I think, is the most important or impressive thing that I see. So when I first started, even a couple of years after that, you'd say, yeah, I do Buhurt, or I do H&B, I do medieval combat. And they look at you and be like, oh, reenactment or LARPing. Whereas nowadays, you say, I do medieval combat. And usually they're like, oh, wow, I've seen that on Instagram, I've seen that on YouTube, that's brutal, that's hectic. So we just had that cultural and awareness shift of people understanding this as a pure sport. And for Australia, like, we're a massive sporting culture. And I think it's starting to really lean into that, where we're starting to pick up more attention as a legitimate sport instead of just a little hobby, as it were.
Yeah.
Casting spells in a park. Yeah.
Yeah, casting spells and throwing fireballs. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, Australia has a national holiday where you just start fights in bars, right? Australia Day.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've looked at the bottom of the streams screen, but it says Australia in parentheses,
Yeah.
Australia underneath of it.
One too many letters in there, by the look of it.
Australia.
Australia. Both the yells.
Yeah.
Just
Australia caterpillar, whatever that word.
I'm not fixing it. No, I'll fix it.
It's really hard not to use that word, isn't it, Sam?
I know, it's hard as it's
Just
Australia
use it.
caterpillar.
Just shut up. Just use it. How do you spell Australia? There you go.
Straya.
Oh, Australia.
Yeah, Australia, yeah.
That's
Pick out both
weird.
yells.
That's
Yeah, no L's.
weird.
L's are too hard.
Exactly, it's too hot down here to start
Yeah.
throwing in L's. into words.
You're a bunch of goofy cunts. Ugh.
Yeah.
Get me started on it.
Bad
I'll
days.
break the seal on it because you guys are all scaredy cats about it. I was actually talking to Pavel Kurzak. He's going to be on next week, and he's like, I'd be down to do an interview. I'm like, interview is a strong word. It's more of a a mainly guided conversation with fighters. Like, it's I'm a fighter. I'm not some pundit. I'm not some announcer or something like that. I understand what we're dealing with here, and that actually makes it a little bit more fun than trying to sit through a stiff, goofy interview process. It's terrible. Anybody in chat got questions? They're here to answer them, and so am I. So there's actually a whole bunch. We got 14 people watching. I'm surprised.
Yes. I'm surprised.
Oh no,
That's very quick in the morning.
You're the Buhurt Joe Rogan now. I don't know if you know
Oh no, shut up.
Yeah.
I gotta shave my head and I gotta just
Mushrooms,
do
DMT.
mushrooms,
Got some milk
DMT.
meat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
get some milk meat in there.
God. I'm just gonna keep drinking my pre-workout that I got from Total Armor Nutrition. They make the good stuff.
Oh. Yeah, I heard
Watch it, look out.
there's a company out there called Modern Primate bringing out some coffee beans.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I can't wait to get a care package from you because I'm gonna send a care package just full of pocket pussies to you.
Yeah, fantastic. I'll send you some, Bryce. So it's
Yeah, you gotta send me down
Yeah,
some of that good.
Yeah.
American pop pussies.
So, okay. How is your meta? Like, what are you seeing in the actual fighting? Are you seeing more axes? Are you seeing more sword and board? Are you seeing more grappling? What are you noticing?
I'll let you take this
Right.
one, Sammy.
Oh, I'll take it. Well, I see.
You can take one.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, from my very limited knowledge of over international engagements of Buhurt fighters in Australia, one of our main teams, Kraken, or most of the teams now, learning from the white company, I guess, that people is where they're getting their tactics from, which is the two guys on the list, so your floater and your railmen and your center. So rails push up, center men is pretty much how I guess the meta is right now. And with that, usually the rail guys got a sword and shield. Well, it's really up to you on the fighter and what they like to do, but you pretty much want that floater to have a shield to protect your railman. But then on the opposite side, you know, you're going to have the sword in the center or the shield in the center. But at like I can say for our team is we're going with predominantly sword and shields on the sides, and our centerman with the two-hander. Maybe one floater with a two-hander.
Yeah.
Just for that grappling access. Just because our club's so new, I think trying to mix in too many pole axes with newer fighters is not a wise idea, because once you bring people's hands used to their whole life, they're using their hands separate of each other. Then as soon as you bring them together, it's just awkward. So you get new fighters doing this, it's going to look awkward, and they don't have the power that you need for two-handers. So
You guys aren't cutting up a lot of firewood, are you?
no. Oh, I guess we do, just maybe in the southern states, but not up here in Queensland.
Nah, I didn't figure as much. That's pretty reminiscent of the IMCF runs for the American team, where you'd run a couple of sword and borders, and then you'd have like one guy, probably Jay, floating around with a two-handed axe that he's gonna murder you with, kind of game plan.
Yeah.
And then you see Partisan 1 and like White Company, they're all running swords and shields. They're all running falchions, and there's actually been a thing of seeing single-handed axes with shields.
Yeah.
I fight constantly with a single-handed axe. It's a real heavy, nasty one. I've broken a few ribs, concussed a few guys with it. It's brutal. But
You fucked up my shoulder armor with it.
yeah, well, I'm pretty sure you screwed up my shoulder entirely with your axe in the round before that.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't move my arm, so I spent the rest of the fight with my shield hanging down uselessly by my side and just ducking instead of blocking. But yeah, I fight with a single-handed axe because it's just such a good impact, and I also use it to hook the rail to hold myself up. So I'll use that instead of looping my arm over the rail and getting a broken arm from Sammy. I just hook my axe over the rail, and they can wail at my axe all they like. I'm not gonna break that.
It's been one of those things that's been a hard thing to try and translate over here in the States, because our meta it was IMCF meta for a very long time. A very large percentage of the country was on an IMCF meta where you weren't like interacting with the rail nearly as much. You were using it, but you weren't like wrapping around it. You weren't able to really hook it or anything else like that. There were HMB teams. There are HMB teams. I fight all of them because I like hitting lots of people. But it just wasn't there in trying to convince dudes like, hey, use the rail because everyone else is going to use it and they're going to win because they're using it, kind of thing. And trying to change over the American meta to a little bit more of an international meta is difficult.
Yeah.
Well, we also realize that 90% of the dudes doing the sport currently, like in the United States, probably aren't going to go overseas, and most of them don't even think about going overseas. They're like, yeah, it'd be a cool like pipe dream, but like it's not the thing that we really want to be doing.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, build the local scene. Like we have within driving distance, within like 4 hours of me, I probably have 4 or 5 teams that are all pretty active.
Oh,
6
cool.
teams, like, and they're all differently built, differently like different metas and different like teams that actually can come together and do stuff. I mean, how often you guys you're saying you go fight every month? I could probably get 2 fights a month if I really wanted to.
Yeah. Well,
Just
6
because.
teams is like what nearly every team in Australia.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
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 And I don't have to worry about driving across a whole continent to try and get to somebody, or like a landmass.
Someone just asked a question. Do you think you guys are better fighters because literally everything outside your house can kill you? Australia seems a death world.
Yeah. How is it? How is it trying to live on a death world?
It's not too bad. It's not too bad. You just
The
get
problem
used
is
to it, I guess.
most of the things that want to kill us are, very, very small, and the armor's not necessarily going to help when a snake crawls down through your brig and starts
Or
biting
a
onto you.
redback spider. That'll fuck you
Yeah,
up.
you put your sabatons on and there's a redback spider in it, or a funnel web living in your helmet. You're not having a great time.
Yeah.
You gotta
Oh,
pay.
yeah,
You gotta
yeah,
pay a
yeah,
lot of
yeah.
attention to your gear bag. You're like, I gotta shake the gear bag out every time I put it on.
Yeah. Anytime you got a
I remember-
sleeping bag, you literally have to shake it out because there could be a snake in there.
Jesus.
There was a couple of years ago, we were training next to a creek area where we got Aussies and flying ants come up, and suddenly we just see this swarm of flying ants coming up onto us as we were gearing up, and they all start crawling down into everyone's
Oh
armor.
no.
So we thought we got them all out, and as we were fighting, I was actually fighting Sky, my missus, and she suddenly starts like clawing at her chest. She's like, there's ants in there, so I just start punching her in the chest, trying to kill the ant. Unfortunately, her arm was too good, and it didn't work. But
It's
I
like
did my best.
I could either punch you. I could either punch you or light you on fire. Which one do you prefer? Oh, Jesus Christ. When you go to like tournaments overseas, like what is your favorite part other than fighting? Because we all are addicted to fighting because we're ridiculous. What else do you enjoy about going overseas to tournament? Like, or like visiting other countries or doing other shit?
Well, I guess I'll take this one because
Yeah.
You got this
Brett.
one, buddy? I go, yeah. I just,
you can go get a drink and relax.
Sam, go get a drink and take off your shirt, man, Candy.
oh, this old thing?
Yeah, that old thing. Nah.
I'm actually gonna go get a Zez. I'll be back.
Yeah, there you go.
He's just left.
Yeah.
Honestly, I massively enjoy just wandering around, just sightseeing and seeing all the history over there. Australia is such a new country, new architecture. We've got some awesome national parks and that with history there, but in terms of castles, architecture, for example, we were down in Vienna being shown around by the Austrian captain Heinrich, and he pointed to the ground and he said, "See that cobblestone? That thing has been around and seen more, history than the entirety of, modern day Australia." It's like, yeah, that's right. That cobblestone, that's seen the last 700-800 years of history through Vienna. That's older than every single building that we've got, really. So yeah, being able to get over there and see castles, see the ruins and everything is one of my favourite things outside of fighting and meeting other people.
I was about to say the biggest thing I go over there is for like the camaraderie and being able to meet other people from other countries after I've punched them really hard. It's like just generally being able to hang out with a lot of dudes from different places and different areas. That was one. That was a nifty thing. We're actually colony buddies. Like you're an old colony. We're an old colony. You guys got out a little later at 1901 than us in 1776. So,
We're also all prisoners. We're all
yeah,
convicts, so-
you're all prisoners and lepers because that's where they sent all the sick people to.
No, we just ditched them across to New Zealand.
Oh, there you go.
Come off the- Oh no, Tassie. We chucked them all in Tassie.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Tasmania.
Actually, that's a New Zealand tabard I got off of one of the New Zealanders back in 2015. I brought
Hell
back.
Yeah, I married a Kiwi.
Yeah?
Yeah. Not a Kiwi fighter. But
No.
upsetting.
No, you.
No, yeah, exactly.
She's the cutest little brown ball ever with little furs on it and such. A little kiwi.
Yeah.
I love the picture of the kiwi bird that then is cut in half and it's the inside of a kiwi. It's always
Yeah.
great.
We got a question on the channel there.
Yeah, outside of Buhurt specific training, in and out of armor, what kind of supplemental training is the priority? Martial arts, cardio, strength? What are your priorities in regards to training?
I would say have just found out the perfect split, I guess you could say. 2 days strength and condition, like 2 days strength and power, 3 days cardio, and then every other day Buhurt. So that would doubling up. So my run days would be grappling and weapons training as well. So it's hard to say that I would focus on one thing, but if I could focus on one thing, if I didn't have armor or anything like that, it would just be burpees and running, because that type of endurance is what wins fights, in my opinion. So
yeah, so I'm running 4 days of strength training and 2 days of cardio and conditioning. But I hate long distance running, so I'd much rather stick to sprints or intervals, training on the roller or the assault bike. Not a fan of long distance, just prolonged running. Bit too old for that. I'll leave that to the young fellas.
Well, that's why they make ellipticals, and then you can go swimming.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
swimming
Shimmer
doesn't have
frames
a
and walking
stick.
sticks. Walking sticks. They got those as well.
You mean a cane? He's calling you old, Bryce.
Yeah.
Sounds like he's
Or a
calling you
shimmer
out.
frame.
Kick his shit in.
I think we're gonna have to fight next tournament, Bryce. I think
We are going to have to fight. We got pretty much 1 month until we see each other in the ring, so it's on.
We're gonna have to do. Are we gonna do an
1v1.
after? Are we gonna do after or before? Obviously, it has to be after the weight class cut. Or you're gonna come into weight class to fight for the title, or you're gonna get your heavyweight title, and then we'll fight after. What do you want?
Well, so I'm sitting at just below 90 kilos, so it's pretty easy to cut, 4 or 5 kilos off to get down to the.
You're coming down to the middleweight. Well, I'm gonna cut down a lightweight. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm not cutting 15 kilos. I hate cutting weight, but I can cut 15 for you. I can cut 5 for you.
I guess we're gonna have to battle.
We are.
Jesus Christ. I'm sitting over here at 125 kilos, just looking at you like skinny fucks. Like keep that skinniness to yourselves.
Yeah, but you're like 7 foot fucking tall.
Yeah, you got a solid 2 feet on Sam and 70 kilos on me.
Yeah. Like I'm just gonna pick them up and put them up on my shelf. Like here you go. You just sit there, buddy.
Definitely could do that for me. I could be on your back in battle. You could just strap me in the back. If anyone tries to attack you.
No, don't do that.
You.
No, it's not good. I've been in enough fights where a dude has just randomly jumped on my back, and I've continued fighting the other guy and walking down the list, going, "There's somebody hanging on to me. Please go away, please."
I never have that.
No, you never had that issue. And really, and like for training wise, like I do more cardio, like heavy sprinting, and doing the burpees in between and everything else like that, to build more of the bounce back, that recovery time. I want to make my recovery time as small as humanly possible, because that's realistically what you're dealing with in steel fighting, is that it's such an anaerobic activity. Like we're sprinting, we're doing really quick runs and everything else like that, but you're not getting a lot of breaths, you're not getting a lot of oxygen. The anaerobic activity and being able to bounce back and get your breath back that much faster, I think, is an extremely important thing. And then obviously being strong and being able to like punch people real good, or doing chopping drills, doing pel work. Like I do pel work 3 days a week, just to save my elbows and my wrists. Like, don't beat the shit out of your body. You have to, like, that's the other thing. I think people overtrain at times when they get really excited and into the sport. I'm like, don't overtrain. You're gonna beat the ever living crap out of yourself. Break your body up.
People start running with weight vests and stuff like that. Like, it's unnecessary.
Yeah, you don't need it.
No. And like even some people might even try armor up too much. Like you don't want to. Maybe I like to say twice a month is probably like. It sounds like not a lot of time for armoring up, but like to save the body on your knees and shoulders, I feel like twice a month is like optimal. Obviously, I'd probably do that more at the moment, but like on the pel, like I'll arm up against the pel a lot.
Yeah.
Because then there's not that opportunity for me to fall back and get taken down, throw my arm down, and all my armor's gone through my shoulder. But, yeah.
Are you guys seeing a prevalence and a push towards foam fighting, like adding the soft kit training in your areas?
Huge.
Just the ability to put that on. Yeah, just the ability to put it on and like get to fighting in less than 10 minutes, and you can get that many more reps and that many more like that much more of a workout compared to doing like 9 fights in steel if you're at like a practice kind of thing.
Yeah, totally agree.
Do you think
it saves your fighters as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, also really effective for new fighters. Like we're constantly picking up new fighters, so it's good to be able to just go, boom, here's your helmet, here's your soft sword, here's the soft shield. We're just going to start sparring, start to put your body into action, figure out what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
Instead of them rocking up and just pretty much having to stand back and watch as a bunch of thugs bash each other in armor. They can actually get into it and start to figure out how much they enjoy it and get hooked.
It's
as soon as they get thrown in that team fight environment, like you can give them like sword and shield drills, but as soon as you put 5v5 in foam fight, there's kind of like a big introduction to that guy just kicked you in the back. That's just what's gonna happen.
Yeah. Well, you always see that, like, you used to see that the crestfallen face going, "Oh, you don't have armor, you can't like fight with us. You can go hit a Pell with this axe or something like that." You'd see that crestfallen look, and now I'm like, "No, go put on that helmet, go put on these gloves, go beat them up with a foam stick. I don't care." And they light up and they're like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go beat people up." I'm like, "There you go ahead, have fun." I definitely think it's a major push for the sport, and how it can, like, how we can forward the sport even more, and that's actually going to lead into my next question. Like, what do you see out of the community now, and what do you think is going to carry it forward, and how it's going to change? Ooh.
I think, like, obviously social media is huge, but
says the guy with 10,000 Instagram followers.
Only 9,000 at the moment.
S Ride on Instagram. SW Ride. Yeah.
But also getting like the younger generation. So foam fighting, like you were saying, is awesome. But if we can get kids, like 10-year-olds, like from the age of 10, learning how to use a sword, learning how to use a two-handed axe, then that literally elevates the sport even more. Like obviously some countries are already doing that. But it's like soccer or footy. Like everyone wants to grow up and be a footy star, or like soccer or whatever the fuck they do in America.
What the hell's a footy star?
A footy, like football, AFL.
Oh,
rugby.
okay, got it.
Yeah. So everyone grows up because they're like, oh, when I go to school, I kick the footy around the boys. But now, like, the dream is, oh, that's at lunchtime. Let's get the foam swords out and have a bash. Like I don't know. See it pushing the sport forward.
That's one of our next goals now that we have our own clubhouse gym, essentially, is to start opening up to kids and start to get them in. Because you're looking at some of those top Russian 1v1 fighters, especially. Those dudes have started training from 6, 7, 8 years old, and now they're just hitting 18, 19, 20, and they're just dominating. They're just so experienced by the time they just get into it.
Well, in ancient. Go ahead.
In HMB, yes, English Russian. I think it's also a really, really positive sport or positive martial arts for a kid, because a lot of kids get into martial arts as young, but they don't get that teamwork aspect. So you look at pretty much every single martial art out there, and HMB armored fighting really stands out as being really the only martial art that is a team sport as well. Like I can't think of anything else other than maybe that 5 vs 5 MMA fight that's going on now in Russia, just brutality. But
I like how we always say like there's no other sport like it other than that 5-on-5 MMA fighting that's just terrible, and we all agree that it's a horrific idea.
They're like, we're the idiots. Like they're using their hands to fight.
They're dropping elbows from standing. They're dropping standing elbows on a dude that's getting beat on by 2 other guys, and I'm like, this is not a good idea, fellas. And this is what I was saying. I was saying this earlier this week with a guy. We were talking about filming fights and everything else like that. There is no other sport in the world that has the same situation that we have, where there's no ball. All 10 people on the field are able to be playmakers. They're able to make big things happen. We don't have any of that in any other sport context. So it's really difficult to like just film it. Like trying to explain what's going on to fans sometimes can be a little bit difficult as well, because they're like, wait, what's the goal? I'm like, knock him down. They're like, really? I'm like, yes. Watch how this guy's just going to fall over because he got pulled down, yeah. And then he's going to go over and start hammering on that guy, and then they're going to start going and hammering. They're like, oh, now it makes sense. You have to make the numbers work. I'm like, yeah, at least you get it. I can't teach new fighters how to understand the numbers game at all.
It certainly adds a major challenge to anyone setting up the camera feeds, and I think it also shows why it's so much more popular for viewers seeing it in person, because you have that wider situational awareness. You can see 3 or 4 fights going on in the field with good clarity, whereas you have just a camera and then you're seeing 2 fighters, maybe 3 fighters bashing on. So I think that's why it's so much more popular in person, where you can feel the impacts, you can see more going on in the field than it is just watching it on a live stream.
But the thing is, like, so many of our tournaments are like done in the middle of damn nowhere because it's cheaper to get like spaces there to like actually put on a tournament like that. So, Like that's the thing in the U.S. We go to places that have cheaper rent because like hotel rooms are cheaper, eating there is cheaper, getting the locations cheaper, and you can like generally pull a smaller community together to come out and go do a crazy thing instead of a giant metropolitan area. Yes, you have less people, but they're usually more involved in their local scene anyways. So that's just been one of those things. What do you see the future of Buhurt? What do you see going on past like the international scene, your scene, anything else like that? I know you have goals and aspirations wanting it to be seen as more of a sport. Like we're gonna go get the foam swords and beat each other up. But what do you see like really progressing in the actual sport itself?
I think probably like everyone's in the sport is like the Olympics. Like if as a major, I guess, how do I say, mainstream event, such a thing as the Olympics takes this sport in, then I think that'll broadcast the sport to an international level on a mainstream level, to really open people's eyes up that this is a sport and it's just not thugs bashing each other with axes. There's tactics, there's fitness, and we're not just neckbeards casting spells. I think once it hits that type of level, like I know Olympics is like sky high, but that's, I reckon, very like, maybe not in my time, or definitely not your time, Bryce, but
Oh Jesus! Old man Bryce. Old man Bryce.
I'm gonna get bashed. I'm gonna
break
get
knees.
Yeah. But definitely, yeah. Fuck, I'm gonna start training
Now.
But, yeah, that's, I don't know, that's just me. But
Well, from my point of view, I think Buhurt League in Europe is really moving in the right direction, where they've got a set in stone, they've got league format, they've got consistent high quality tournaments, high quality fighters, really good team structure and scoring structure. We've been trying to implement something similar in Australia, but with just such large distances, and not even just for Australia, for our region in general, so New Zealand, China, Japan, Australia, the Asia Pacific region. We would love to get some essentially Buhurt League up and running similar to that, but it just doesn't quite lend itself the current structure of their system of tournaments to our area, because I think China is just growing exponentially in our area, including in the HMV medieval fighting scene. They're just getting so many new fighters. We had some of our fighters get sponsored, just 100% sponsored, to go over there as a team and fight for one of the last tournaments we had just before COVID shut everything down. And we're going to have another huge tournament there with, once again, sponsored team of Australian fighters going over. Unfortunately, things happened around the world, as everyone knows, and that didn't happen. So I think the sheer quantity of fighters coming out of that area is going to just see the scene and the local area international scene explode in the next couple of years.
I mean, I think that's actually really lucky for you guys. How bad of a trip is it to get to China from you?
Not too bad at all. Most of the time when I'm flying to Europe, I'm flying on the Chinese airlines, just because they have a lot cheaper flights, and they also have 2 24-kilo bags as default, which is nice. Because excess baggage from some of the airlines sting brutally.
Yeah.
It's like an extra $100. It's like an extra $100 just to another state.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of our fighters a couple of years ago, flying to Battle of the Nations, went with one of the Arabic airlines, maybe Emiratis, and he ended up paying $3,000 in excess baggage. He pretty much could have just straight up he could have bought a new suit of armor over there. So
what?
You got to be careful flying from Australia.
Jesus.
You got to be careful flying from Oz.
I've got people that I want to visit in Australia, and that just kind of scares me about coming to Australia, other than the snakes and the spiders.
That's the best country in the world. Ask Colin about it.
I have no doubt. Well, he also like came back for his beautiful wife, so it makes sense that he came back to
the
Australia.
most beautiful women. That's very well.
You married a New Zealander. You can't really talk all that much, guy.
Yeah, but they're practically Australian. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
Alex D, our sport needs more viewer-friendly efforts and announcer scoreboard or something. I get asked so many times on my TikTok, how is someone dead, or what is the goal? We know it, but they don't. Like talking about fan interaction.
It's kind of like a lot of people ask dumb questions. I know it sounds so bad because people obviously don't know the sport, but if a lot of if you watch a UFC fight, I think once you put armor and weapons in their hand and you see two guys battling it out, people don't think MMA. They don't think point scoring. They think battle. They think death. They think neck beards or casting spells. I think that's. But then, like again, once UFC was kicking off, everyone's like, "These are stupid. These guys are just
human cockfighting."
Oh, yeah, exactly. People are like, "This is so stupid," but they look at it now, like it's crazy. Like it's just the, I guess, local public don't understand it yet. When that happens to every new sport, and then as soon as people get more knowledge, then the dumb questions will stop.
I think having the on-screen graphics, like I'm pretty sure Carolina Carnage had it as well, showing when a fighter gets dropped. Boom, that's one. You can see you got 5 helmets this side, 5 helmets that side. I think that definitely helps because then it has positive. Okay, we're looking at this. These numbers are going down. Those numbers aren't going down. This team's winning. Yeah, I think that definitely helps.
I actually really like the fact that we're actually getting a better production quality out of our tournament live streams and everything else like that, even if it's only just for the big national tournaments. Like, I couldn't care about like the guys doing it in their backyard and they've got their 2 local teams come together for a chapter match or something like that. I'm completely okay with like one GoPro sitting up on top of a roof and they haven't touched it for 3 hours. I couldn't give a shit.
Let us watch.
Yeah, I just really want to watch more fighting. I'm like constantly consuming fight media of any one shape and form. It's what I do. So I think that we're moving into a better time, because with us having Night Fight, we've gained a lot of more people. The COVID thing is also allowing us more time of growth, because people are going to be looking. People are going to be looking for the experience to go. Like, I've been stuck inside for 1.5 years now. Like, I want to go do something crazy. Let's go do some crazy shit. What's crazier than putting on a suit of armor and hitting people with axes and not going to jail? Skydiving? I don't get a cool suit of armor out of skydiving.
Exactly. Doesn't help you in the zombie apocalypse either. So.
No, neither does. I don't think any of our armor would really be all that great for the zombie apocalypse, because it'd be too loud and it's too fucking heavy. You wouldn't want to wear it all the time.
If you're holding down a house, I'm just saying, it's just standing.
Holding down a house, it's different. But like, yeah, if you're moving, remember, movement is life. You can't.
Until a bunch of Buhurt fighters get infected with a zombie plague, and then you got armored zombies walking.
Yeah.
You are the problem. You are the problem. You are the fucking.
Make sure you take your helmet off when you get bit.
When you fucking get bit, take your fucking helmet off. You selfish.
No, I'll just take off this little bit of a visor so I can still fight people and keep your press solid.
Yeah. Solid.
Fuck you. Fuck you. Motherfucker.
Oh.
Bryce? Fuck you, Bryce.
Fuck you, Bryce. It's constant. Oy. How do you feel that social media is affecting how we're like putting the sport out there? There's people talking about TikTok and everything else like that. TikTok's problem is that they pull down anything that has to do with violence, which showing weapons is violent.
Well, that's weird because I'm on TikTok because I'm a fucking sick cunt. But like sorry. No,
I told you to do it. I said it. Fuck you.
Sorry. But it's weird because a lot of I guess TikTok creators are getting their stuff pulled down, and none of my stuff gets pulled down, and I'm wailing on people. Like my videos are just pure fighting. Like there's no dancing or getting my tits out or anything like that. It's pure just fighting. Like but yeah, I don't know. I guess every time I appeal to it, I always say this is a sport. Happy to give you some more information about the sport if you don't believe me or anything like that. Like I'm always right back. I always write like a paragraph explaining like this is an actual sport, there's rules, there's a league and everything like that. So I think maybe if people try and explain to TikTok, that might help. But with social media, I think it's great because most of the time you go to bed at night and people are just on their phones. And that's they see this weird thing and they want to see more. So, yeah.
Bryce.
I think we do have the small benefit of still having that slight tie into that, LARPing, reenactment, fantasy side of things, which, TikTok would look at a video and be like, oh no, it's just guys in armor, doing this thing. It's not the same as two guys in MMA gloves punching on, even though it's just as violent, but it still has that slight inkling back toward that not taking it seriously. So I guess there is a minor benefit of that at this stage.
It's been one of those things that like people reaching out through social media. Like every day, I probably have at least two questions asking me about Buhurt fighting, how to get into steel fighting or something like that. And that's why I made the YouTube channel, because I'm like, screw it, I can't keep it. I could keep repeating myself, or I could just make a video and send you a video. And it'll say everything that you want. It'll answer all the other questions that you really need fucking answered. It'll give you a better idea. And I just like, okay, let's make a YouTube channel, and people have like seemed to caught on to it and wanting more stuff from it. So who's to argue with that? And I've definitely gotten some messages going, hey, you're the reason why I'm in steel fighting, because of like your YouTube channel and Night Fighter, all that other crap. I'm a humble.
You that guy from Night Fight?
No, fuck off.
Oh my god.
No. You mean this guy? You mean that guy? Yeah. Look at it go.
Cut that mouth out.
Honestly, speaking of helmets there, I do love that, I know so many people from overseas, and I actually have no idea what they look like. And then I'll jump in the ring with them. I'm like, mate, how's it going? I recognise them in their helmets.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you so long. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good to see you again.
Yeah. It's like people just look at that's the nifty thing about me watching video. I can always find my big pointy ass, because I'm like, nobody else has got this helmet. Like, it's okay. Like, it's easy to find it. But like, there's a lot of dudes that I don't recognize them unless they're wearing their country's tabards. Like that, I remember their names when I see them wearing their country's tabards, and I have no idea why. It just doesn't click in my head anymore. It's a goofy one. So, do you have any questions for me, or do you watch any kind of American fighting?
I watch as much of the streams as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time there's a stream on any of those armored communities, I always click and watch it. And even if it's not live anymore, I'll go all the way back to the start and I'll just chuck it on my phone. I'll eat my cereal or something like that.
What do you think of it?
Yeah. I think it's not different. I guess it's different in the matter of fact that I think our HMB here is modelled on Europe. Mm-hmm. So there is a lot of list fighting. There is a lot of not tactics, like saying you don't have tactics, but in America I find there's a lot of bashing, which is great, which is awesome. Like, bashing is great. We love bashing, but I think that's the difference. It's more of like, yours isn't like scrappier than ours, but I feel like ours is kind of trying to lean towards the list side of it.
Mm-hmm.
When not a high percentage of UF fighters, but more the live stream to see is a lot of newer fighters is punching on, which is obviously awesome to see. But that's the biggest thing. But then in saying that though, if you probably see the T Warriors fights, and that's just fighting in a cage and just kicking people. So
scrapping.
Scrapping.
One of the biggest things I think I've noticed is a lot in the commentary actually, and like the TV coverage and any of the videos coming out of America. A lot of it seems to be focused on that, just brutality and savagery and bashing and violence. Whereas you see a lot of the other videos coming out of Europe, it's more focused on it being a sport or dignified and food. Food.
Nice guy.
Baking. Sam says nice guy. So I find that quite interesting. Just the different messages coming, like publicity messaging coming out. Especially watching Night Fight, it was just.
It's
so much.
Say it, Bryce.
Yeah, say it. Yeah, go ahead and say it.
Say it, Bryce. Don't bite your tongue now, motherfucker. Say it.
I like bacon. There's just meat here.
Okay. Okay.
What about you though? Like, what about your fighting? Like, so who do you look to for your inspiration to fight? Like, it's gonna sound super fucking lame, but I honestly, Bryce is like the guy that I watch. When I first got into sport, I watched Bryce fight. He's Captain Kangaroo.
He's your vet. He's your vet.
But but now I'm gonna bash that old fuck. But yeah, like who would be your, I guess, your vet or your
who I like me. I look at everything really. I compartmentalize and I like analyze everything and I break down shit in my brain. When I'm looking at things, like when I say I consume fight media constantly, like I'm going through and I'm finding like Russian tournaments from 2012 kind of thing, and I'm watching like the start of the Russian teams, Partisan One, Burn, all those kinds of things, Bear Paw. Like now they have all this stuff in Buhurt League. I watch a lot of that. I watch a lot of the Prime stuff, and just trying to think of what tactics that we're moving towards and what kind of meta for the European meta. If I'm fighting over here in the States, I'm primarily looking at how I can make take the best tactics for my team and how my team is built out as it is and how to use that best. I definitely think that there's more of a need for dynamic movement, being able to change the field, being able to manipulate the field, and then enacting a play or some kind of plan. We all know that when the first shot, when you first engage with somebody, you start punching people, you start swinging axes at each other. It all turns to chaos. And the thing with like watching Partisan One, they use that chaos and they know how to fluidly switch their partners. And they can just keep bouncing around and switching guys off. If they're not getting somewhere with one guy, they'll jump over to another guy, and the other guy will come over and pick up that dude. Like, they do that dance, and they dance all around, and I think that's actually one of the things like that's missing, like field awareness, communication, all of those things that make actually like teams. I think that needs some work. I like our meta. I like the big flashy axes and everything else like that. I think a two-handed axe definitely has its place in the melee.
100%.
I don't think a whole team of axes makes sense, but it's just us. We all run around with 3.5 foot long axes and we just like scream at each other for some reason.
Well, on axes, something I'm really interested in is the 12 vs 12 getting more and more popular.
Dude.
Because I had just the best time in the 12 vs 12.
Yeah.
It's such a fun category. It is just insanely enjoyable.
It
just kind of brings that small team tactics of the fives with the combination of just the mass bow herd of the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that sweet spot in between. Oh, I love it. It's amazing.
If there's a 10-on-10 fight happening or a 12-on-12 fight happening within 5 hours of me, I'm driving to it. Like if there's enough fighters getting together to do it, I'm going to do it. I think 10-on-10s and 12-on-12s is like the sweet spot for tactics, for longevity of the fight, for being able to come back from a negative. Like 4 versus 5 and 5-on-5s is terrible. We all know that almost certainly you're going to lose if you're 4-on-5. There are people that can come back. There are teams that can come back from 4-on-5, or some stupid thing happens and then they can come back. But it's really difficult to come back from 4-on-5. Coming back from like 9-on-12, still reasonable. 10-on-12, very reasonable. You can still pull that off, kind of thing. Like you can shift things around. You can do more with the tactics there, and I think that's actually really where the sweet spot of the sport is. I don't like the fact that 5s is the quintultimate, the pentultimate fucking thing that they want to do. And when we went to Botten in 2015, they called the 21-on-21s the royal category because they're like, that's more fun. 5-on-5s, whatever. That's just to fill time. 21-21's what it's about. And we were fighting in the list that was the size of like a bar room.
Yeah, that was just shoulder to shoulder cramped in until you're just punching the guy in the face in front of you until someone falls over.
There's 42 dudes in full armor in a list that's less than like 22 feet across and maybe 45 feet long. Like, let's go at it, guys.
Absolutely grinder.
Paul,
Yeah.
did you make it across to the last Battle of the Nations where we had the 150 versus 150?
No, I didn't, and I'm sad that I did not. It looked hilarious.
Phenomenal.
Really?
So I was captaining the Asia Pacific alliance that we had, so
Mhm.
I've got my 30-man block here, and just it was pretty much 6 ranks deep, shoulder to shoulder across
That's
the
so
entirety of
fucking
the field. And I'd heard stories of people talk about in the middle of battle, guys would be getting switched out from the front line and pushed back into the front line as they're fatiguing. And always in the back of my head, I was thinking that's impossible. Like you can't achieve that in the middle of battle.
No, it's very real.
And it's very real. So I'm back as the captain, and I'm just literally like seeing guys just take 3 or 4 poleaxe hits. I'm like, oh, he's hurting. Literally come up, grab him by the shoulder, grab another random Ukrainian, some guy who doesn't speak my language, and going, you move, and switching you out. And step back again. All right, look around. All right, that guy's getting beat up. You move, just jamming new people into the breach again and again.
Yeah.
And it was just such a phenomenal learning experience and kind of appreciation of medieval battle on that massive scale, even if it was 300 compared to 330,000.
I mean, realistically, 300 is a pretty reasonable number for fully armored knights or fully armored dudes fighting each other. Like, even if they're men at arms or lesser like knights or households or stuff like that, they're all fully armored. Like, that's a hell of a fight. 150 on 150. That's like minusing arrows. Like, let's not include arrows in that thought process. But like,
start to throw all these arrows coming in on top.
oh shit. In that 150 on 150, like, how did you feel about it otherwise? Because that seems like a bit of a clusterfuck.
Oh, it was a massive clusterfuck. It was just straight chaos. We had no idea what was going on through most of it, sort of thing, because we're still confirming rules. Even the night before, we were still confirming, all right, what are we allowed to do? What is the aim? We got these giant poles. We had like 4x4 poles that were, 6-7 meters tall, and we're like, can we drop the poles on people's heads as a weapon? We're like, no.
No, don't do that. Don't do that.
So yeah, there was a lot of confusion, but it was just phenomenal fun, and I think they're going to do it again next time they have Val Nations if they have the numbers, because it was just, and very, very surprisingly, we were all walking in there thinking we're just going to get constant ambulances of people coming out of here, and I think there was the fewest injuries out of any category. Like I don't know if we had any major injuries come out of that event.
I'm surprised. That's what I kind of expected too.
Large round. Yeah, we were thinking it's like, guys are going to get absolutely destroyed, but I think the sheer amount of people, you get 1 or 2 hits, and then you can stagger back, and another guy fills in. And then we had constant guys running and picking guys up off the ground and pulling them back.
Yeah.
Even on the other side, so at one stage we kind of got our line pushed back a certain part, and some of our fighters were behind the Russian contingent, and their contingent actually had like people whose sole job was to run around, pick up casualties, and drag them out of the way. Because as a casualty is on the ground, if someone pushes you, you're getting tripped over them.
Yeah.
They had 3 or 4 guys just literally running around. You stand up, move back, out of the way. You stand up, move back, out of the way.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, and it worked really, really effectively.
Were they fighters? Were they fully armored up?
Yeah.
Yep. So they were fighters on the field. They just had a weapon in their belt, and their job was just running field awareness, moving guys around, moving reinforcements to where they need to be, and also just picking up casualties and being like, "Oi, get out of the way, get out of the way." It was really interesting to see that not everyone is on the field fighting, because I think I didn't throw any punches until the last 3 minutes of the fight. And surprisingly, I got like 4 takedowns before they took us down. But at that stage, we were just being completely rolled over, so I think guys were just sprinting into the breach at that stage.
Yeah.
My
very, very interesting category.
One of the guys on my admin team is like Brennan Shamrock, who's actually basically my manager. He's like, if you all ever want to come over across the pond, you guys have a personal invite from me to Ragnarok, the largest foam fight in the U.S.
Shit.
There's a big old LARP event that we go out to. It's not like hardcore LARPing. It's like all the fighting is still full force, full speed. Like, you're beating the crap out of each other with foam sticks. You wear goofy clothes and have a goofy name. But like, that's actually a pretty fun event. Go camping for a week. It'd be sick.
Yeah, I've heard about that. That sounds sick.
I'm
actually going to this Friday. I'm going to Swordcraft. It's like a laughing thing just for armor training.
Yeah.
I'm putting on full plate armor, soft sword, and shield, and just using as cardio to run around and do stuff. So
it's gonna suck because there's a sport that I do that with. There's a game over here that I do that with, and I get to wear all of my full steel. They don't get mad at me, and I just have to run full fucking bore against guys that aren't wearing any armor. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. A couple of our fighters went down to the local LARP group just to do some cardio in armor, and they weren't invited back again.
Really? Yeah.
I'm sure we can figure out which one of those people might have been Sam.
Does it rhyme with Juris?
It very well might, yes. Who's got one?
Fuck you, Chris.
One speed.
Yeah. And
alright, we're doing some soft training today. We're just taking it easy, working some technique, and he just broke another pole arm.
Jesus Christ.
Back of the kneecap, Chris. Do you remember that time you hit
Chris, you're watching.
Chris, I hope you're watching, because Tim told me to say fuck you, by the way. So.
Wow. Yeah, I can follow.
I'm going to send Chris on you when you come down.
I already... Chris is nothing to me anymore. I'm gonna bash him.
He's just nothing to him anymore. Fuck him.
I'll hold you so
Please
you
don't tell him I
can't run
said that. Please don't say that because he hits like a fucking hammer.
I don't know. You're the one that said it on a live stream that's being recorded. That's gonna be like going back up on my YouTube.
I message him every day. I'm like, fuck you, Chris. He hits very fucking hard. In fact, he's the first time I ever got concussed in this sport. It's because we're doing an all-v-all at some workplace. It's like where some people hired us out to have a fight. And it was an all-v-all. I think there was like 6 or 7 of us. And I swear me and Chris gave the wink like, yeah, we'll be on the same team. We'll be on the same team until the end. So I'm like, sweet. We gave each other the nod. I was like, sick. So I turned around to swing somewhere, and then next thing I remember was me looking at the concrete. I was like, what the fuck, Chris? It was a free-for-all, dude. I was like, I thought we winked at each other. And then I had to drive home, and I was just like, oh, God. Yeah. Fuck you, Chris. I still remember.
When we came up to fight you guys in Brisbane, what was it, year before last, and you destroyed my left shoulder, and then one of the later fights, you destroyed my right hip. We were driving back down to Sydney, like 9 hours drive that evening. And so I'm trying to kind of keep my right hip up off the seat, and then the back of my left shoulder up off the seat. So I'm like talking myself around, trying to just steer an extended drive. Yeah, that was a painful drive back.
Oh
that was
God.
so funny because I remember swinging and like you like went past me and I continued to swing. I just felt meat. I just felt meat. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then your shield was just like this the whole time. You're just like, come on, let's do this.
It was just
like
flopping around like a tentacle.
yeah.
Just ducking and weaving every shot after that, so I couldn't bring my shield up past my belly button.
He still destroyed my pauldron, but my pauldron's still fucked
good.
from that. Yeah.
How reasonable do you think it is to have IMCF or Botan this year?
Well, so IMCF is actually later on in the year.
Both of them are.
Well, so yeah, Botan got pushed back from start of May, which is just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But even where it's currently sitting, very, very much not going to happen. I'm still
July.
In denial and still, I can hope.
Yeah.
But when's IMCF? Was that pushed back to November?
No, I thought that was September. Maybe it's October.
Yeah, so that's a maybe, big maybe, but very, very unlikely.
Yeah.
Australia won't be going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, we're quite isolated. Our government's pretty quick on the lockdown and still very limiting international travel.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how the
vaccines rolling out.
goes.
Yeah.
Even with the vaccines rolling out, I'd be surprised how fast most of the European countries will let Americans fly back into their countries.
Oh yeah, I don't think you guys are going anywhere either. Like I'm sure you'll be allowed to leave, but no one's having you.
No.
No you can leave, but you can't come here, mate. Fuck off.
Yeah, you can stay the fuck out of here.
Yeah, get the fuck out. We can go sit in Darwin. No one wants to.
No one wants to be in Darwin. It's just how are you finding yourselves to keep yourselves in shape during the COVIDs and like finding the desire and the motivation to go and train because you don't have like a constant outlet of it?
It's for you, Bryce. You guys have been locked down more than me.
Yeah, so honestly, we haven't been too bad. Victoria got really heavily locked down. The rest of Australia wasn't too bad, and luckily, through those lockdowns, we're now pretty much free. Like we're free to do what we will without the fear of spreading the disease around. But what we did personally as a team, we split ourselves into three fighter teams, so we can hold our own internal inter-team tournament. So we have 5 3-person teams, and we hold monthly tournaments amongst ourselves until we can start to reach out to fight the other teams.
Gotcha.
And that's been really good to keep that tournament competitive mindset. Whereas otherwise, it's just dudes are showing up to training. There's no drive, no competition to drive it forward.
Yeah. And playing into what I said earlier is like 90% of the people that are involved in the country in like the United States, like steel. I'm not 90%'s a strong number, but like 80%, whatever you want. Don't plan on going overseas. Like it's not in their wheelhouse. Like it's not going to be there. How do you feel about having a beer league versus a like hardcore league? Doing different scenarios. Like you can add those stupid little games of like capture the flag, or you have to like get one guy from one end to the other, or something like that. Like changing it up a little bit. You don't always have to be stuck in the European meta. How do you feel?
I don't hate it. I I don't hate it because at the end of the day, the thing that gets this sport bigger is money, and what brings money is people watching. And if you just have this sport gets so popular where it's just 5v5 people hugging the list, which is going to end up being, it's going to be boring for people to watch. But if you got like a siege scenario where these guys are actually beating the fuck out of each other, trying to climb up ladders, like people will be like, people will watch it. Like I think that's just I would fucking watch it, but.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of talk in some of the American pages about bringing in capture the flag or sieges. I don't think we've had really much conversation in Australia about it. Probably mostly because we're still quite small. So realistically, if you commit yourself to training and you're half decent, you have a pretty solid chance of getting a spot on the national team. If not in the 5s, then definitely in the 12s or the 30s. Like if you are a half decent fighter, good quality gear, and can afford it, you can probably get overseas to compete on the national team at this stage. Over the next couple of years, that's not going to be the case, but people are kind of making the most of it at the moment and trying to get overseas to compete, even if it's just once for the experience.
Yeah.
Going forward, as we grow and get more and more competitive to earn a place on that team, I think we'll start to see a bit of a paradigm shift there, where we will start to see that people show up and they just want to have a bit of fun at training, have a bit of a bash, and then you've got the others who are very, very strongly competitive. I think we'll start to see that develop over the next couple of years.
How is your growth? Like, how's your growth of new people?
Still really fast. I think at S-Ride is definitely helping by becoming that influencer that he is.
Yeah.
I've sent fucking bold people to you, bro.
Yeah, 100%. So having people like Sam down there, doing the good work online is definitely helping the sport grow, because we're constantly just getting influx of new people. Hey, I've seen this on Instagram, I've seen this on TikTok. Come down, when are you guys training? So yeah, we're growing really, really fast.
Are you finding a different kind of guy that's coming into it than what would have come into it 2 years ago?
Yeah, 100%. So initially we were looking at, we got guys coming across from, Viking reenactment side, HEMA side. We get the your classic nerds roll in, who usually disappear straight away afterwards when they realise it's hard work.
Yeah.
But now we're starting to get the more athletic, the younger, the more serious sportsman mentality coming in. That's at least what I'm seeing with our guys.
A lot of tradies. Or I don't know what do you guys call tradies? Oh, I guess that's a stupid question.
Blue collar.
Yeah, blue collar. Like a lot of like builders and shit who used to play footy in their day.
Yeah.
They hurt their knee playing footy or something like that. So they're just like, holy fuck, I can beat the fuck out of people, and like they know how to swing a tool.
Yeah.
They've been working hard their whole life, so they're like, I can just bash cunts with this axe.
I'll do it
for my job my whole life, and boom. But yeah, a lot of influx of tradies in our group especially, and like Bryce said, a lot of athletic bodies and not just the neckbeards coming in. Nothing wrong with nerds at all. Like myself and Bryce is obviously a massive nerd. Plays D&D. I collect Warhammer and like all that. Like,
I play Magic
stuff,
the Gathering, guys. Like you ain't got too strong about it.
Yeah.
I think you have to have a certain level of nerd.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Everyone does. They're just too afraid to say it. Fuck.
Fuck them. Be okay with being a nerd. Not everything has to be such vapid masculinity.
It just happens. Like it's accidental.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you got biceps like that guy, or shoulders and your back and your
Bryce
face.
Is huge. Bryce is.
Yeah, I know. Bryce is built. Bryce is built like a chunky man.
Get guns out, Bryce. Get him up.
Nah, I'm good.
Put him up.
What's everybody's favorite supplier? What's everybody's favorite supplier? You guys buying local down there or ordering from Eastern Europe like a bunch of us here in the States?
This is on you, Sam. This is on you. Get your sponsorship money.
Yeah, Medieval Extreme, I tell you, they're the best suppliers going around. Free express shipping if you use coupon code S-Ride. No, but seriously.
He's hammered that down. He's got it.
No, Medieval Extreme is actually really good, solely for the fact that quality is good, but you can use PayPal.
Oh yeah.
Easy transactions, like monies like that. Once you start
there they
are.
There they are.
And everything like that, it is
I got him.
That was hot. I'm a bit aroused right now.
It's only 4 in the morning.
So I'm pantless right now. But also, in saying that though, I get my axes made from a guy called Rob Hayes, the Hammer and Scale in Melbourne, Victoria,
Mm-hmm.
and they are beasts of axes. Like,
Yeah.
I highly recommend, if you want an axe to be your solo axe, like your go-to weapon of choice, get something made from Rob. Like, it's
I'm talking to a guy out of Russia called World Workshop III. So their initials are WWIII. It's hilarious, like World War III.
yeah.
What?
They make really pretty pole axes with hammerbacks on them. I'm like, okay, guys, I'm moving to a mid 16th century Italian kit. You need to make me a mid 16th century Italian pole hammer, and I'm gonna show people what I can do with it. I'll do a full review of the thing, and probably scare the ever living shit out of myself with it.
So I've actually started wholesaling for HBC armor out of India because Indian armor has had such a bad name because they just churn out terrible armor and they don't understand what we need to keep ourselves safe.
Craig Nadler's been
Craig
chasing that
Nadler-
dragon for a while.
Exactly. So Craig Nadler flew over there, did so much really good work because Craig is a very, very intelligent guy. Very experienced with armor. He knows exactly what's going to keep us safe. So he flew over there, helped him set up their workshop, helped him set up their testing, making sure their steel is the good quality and the right thickness. So the armor that we're starting to get out of India is really, really good quality. So HPC armor, I'm starting to import in, purely to get more fighters into the sport. It's such an expensive sport to get into.
Yeah.
And if I can kit out a fighter for $1,500 instead of $4,000,
Wow.
that's just gonna get guys into the sport.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm still questioning of
Then
those
they can start to
helmets.
get fancy armor.
What?
Craig is really, really thorough in his testing.
Yes,
Um,
that is one.
getting out
That is one thing to say for Craig Nadler.
couple of months.
That's one thing to say for Craig Nadler is that he has done a lot of work with those guys, and he goes over there and he nitpicks the ever living shit out of them. Not letting them get away with things. Like, he has things come in, he sells a couple of them, they come back broken, and he's like, okay, send them all back. You guys have to fix them.
Yeah, so India's had a really bad name for armor for a good reason, but HBC is doing a lot of really, really fantastic work, and I think they're going to turn around the reputation.
Yeah, good.
Every time I get
at
some
least
armor
I know
for them, yeah, so I just got my first load at the end of last year, and I threw on gauntlets, I threw on the sabatons that I got, and I just punched the hell on my anvil, I chucked it on, I fought in it, so I'm not going to sell something that I'm not happy to fight in myself.
Well, hell yeah.
And if I can get more fighters into the sport because they can afford it, because we get the odd uni student who comes through and they're super interested in the sport, super fun at training, they're developing really fast, and they go, okay, I need to get armor, show us some prices, and you're just like, oh, sorry mate, but, you just
Get
can't
a
afford
job,
it
you
as a
bum.
student.
Yeah.
Even going piece by piece.
Yeah, 100%. Hook us up with
yeah,
that
so-
link
Yeah, I will do.
when after
I'll
this.
start to throw it around.
Yeah.
But if anyone wants to look at on Facebook HBC Armor,
Mm-hmm.
check out their stuff. They're making some really interesting gear.
Nadler Metal Crafts is also a guy.
Metal crafts in America, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had, like, my helmet, my gauntlets, my forearms are all made by Ilya out of Baltimore Knife and Sword. He's the guy that does and Man at Arms Reforged. He was working with Baltimore Knife and Sword with that, and then now he does That Works. Like, I don't know what that crazy little Russian did to that metal, but that metallurgy is just impeccable. I can't understand it, and I'll never be able to get him to make armor for me like that again because he doesn't make armor anymore. He's like, nope, I won't do it.
Oh wow.
Well, he's dealt with enough jousters that are so finicky and persnickety about stuff. He doesn't want to fuck with it anymore, and I completely understand it. Like, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So, what's that? What do you got? What's that? Primeval Ape or whatever it is? What's your other branding there, Sam?
Modern Primate.
Modern Primate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah.
There we go.
Oh yeah, there he goes. Throws it all around. Sorry, everybody. A little bit of a commercial situation here.
It's a veteran-based company, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doing the good work.
selling poppy beans soon, and maybe some weapons soon. Who knows?
Really? You're gonna work on getting weapons figured out?
Yeah, just trying to be like Bryce is saying, just like a way to get weapons at the moment straight to Australians straight away. So like having like a stockpile of weapons where if I go to a tournament, someone breaks an axe, or like they're like, I get a new fighter there. It's like, hey dude, here's a simple axe that's actually really good that I used. They can be like, here, horse, straight away. PayPal, like just tap and go. There's an axe for you. So I think AJ Havoc does that. I bought pretty much all my weapons off AJ Havoc. Who's his supplier?
I can't remember off the top of my head. Sorry, it's one of the Fabry Armorum, I believe.
Yeah, that's it. Fabry, Fabry,
Yeah.
I bought all my swords. I still use his falchion up until like a couple months ago, where I bought one off Medieval Extreme. Coupon code SRI free express shipping. But yeah, I use his swords up until then, and that did not break, and I bashed through that thing like daily. Like it was good.
Actually an interesting point on weapons, Paul, you might find amusing. So some of Australian states have really strict laws on weapons.
Oh, really?
So Victoria, who has probably the largest amount of Buhurt fighters, they're not allowed to use bladed weapons. They're not allowed swords, not allowed spears.
What?
Can use axes.
What?
So we held some massive tournaments down there. Every time we hold a massive tournament, everyone has to use an axe.
That's hilarious. It's hilarious.
Apparently swords are dangerous, but axes are perfectly fine. Maces are very hard to use in Australia because you need a prohibited weapons license.
G-class license.
It's easier to get a gun license than it is to get a mace license.
What?
Because the police have no idea how to process it. So no one, or very few.
They don't know how to process a club?
Yeah, exactly.
It's a club.
But yeah, so Axe Fest in Victoria is just an absolute bloodbath because suddenly you got so many people fighting with an axe.
That's hilarious.
Don't know how to use an axe.
Don't know how to use them.
Why is this going through his kneecap? I don't understand. It's fucking weird. Why is it going behind his leg when I usually just, hit his calf?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the first Axe Fest that we had, we kind of sort of filled up the local hospital with axe wounds. And me being I was president of the national organisation at the time, was getting phone calls from the local police saying, please come down and have a chat with us. We need to talk about why we're getting reports that we've got the local hospital filled with
axe wounds.
People from axes.
Yeah.
Go down and have a chat, show them some videos, and they were actually really supportive. And they came the next day to watch the tournament.
Oh, gnarly!
I thoroughly loved it.
That's the thing. Like, cops always get like kind of weary around it. Like, do you have any weapons in the car, sir? I'm like, do you consider axes and swords weapons? And they just kind of give you this awkward ass look. I'm like, I'm not joking. Like, I fight people for funsies, and they're like, oh, that seems pretty fucking cool. And then they start asking all kinds of questions and shit. So the last question I have for you fellas is like, do you like how does the Australian government deal with this situation? Have you written into them? Like what kind of like connection have you had with your governing powers?
Not a drastic amount at this stage from the national organisation side of it. Essentially, as long as we have our insurance sorted out, they're fairly happy to let us do our thing. As the sport gets larger and larger, we may start to run into some problems. But the main one, we tried to get a weapons exemption for Victoria, so we could use swords when we go down there, and just absolutely ran into the wall.
Really?
Bureaucracy. Yeah. Pretty much said, no, we're not allowed to use them. So, axes it is.
Axe Fest commences.
Yeah. See how the Australian government deals with us as we get larger and larger, because some states really crack down on any sort of martial arts and contact sports. For example, I'm not sure if it's still the case with Western Australia, but at a certain stage they were not allowed to do MMA in a cage. They had to do MMA in a boxing ring, which is really dangerous for the MMA fighters because you're going to take it down out through the ropes. So you're fighting in an arena that's not made for your sport. I don't know if that's still the case, but up until a couple of years ago, I know that was a thing. Because no sensible reason, like there's no difference doing MMA in a cage compared to a boxing ring, except the visibility of it. It looks dangerous and scary in a cage.
Yeah.
So on the surface level, they're like, oh, put it in a boxing ring. It's better and more harmless.
Everyone knows what a boxing ring is. Yeah, surely.
Exactly.
It can be more dangerous.
But for the fighters, it's really dangerous and not safe for them to compete in there. So that's where the Australian government has issues.
I'm surprised that they cut down on like martial arts and stuff like that, yet you have rugby and American football. Like I'm like, that's pretty fucking like violent. Like I think there's more injuries coming out of rugby than there are our sport.
Touch footy you get more,
Yeah.
Touch football you got 10 times more injuries.
Yeah. touch rugby, you know, you're much more likely to injure yourself playing that competitively than doing Buhurt.
Because you're not wearing anything, damn near. Like
Yeah,
rugby,
you're not wearing
you wear a scrum cap.
You get hit.
Yeah, and a mouth
Yeah.
car. Yeah.
Now I want to thank you guys for coming on. I want to thank everybody for being on the live chat. Let's see if we got any more questions. Anybody got any other questions to throw at these guys right quick? It is 4:18. I'm okay with hanging around for another 12 minutes. I've been trying to keep these things down to like an hour and a half, so they're like reasonable to go back and watch. By the way, I would buy the fuck out of an Axe Fest t-shirt. Very true.
Done. We'll start exporting.
Yeah. Bryce, we'll set this up.
No, the Victorian team can do some fundraising.
Yeah.
The Victorian team, what you get those Axe Fest shirts happening.
No swords, only axes.
Swords are for pussies. Yeah.
You guys got any
I
questions?
fight with an axe normally, so
Yeah.
I love fighting with an axe. So I'm
Yeah,
happy
same with me.
to do with it.
Same with me. Yeah.
Axe is just such a good utility tool as well.
Yeah.
I take my axe to a tournament over in Europe, and I can just spin it around and start hammering in tent pegs for our tent as well.
Mm-hmm.
Boom.
Punching out dents in armor, they're just all around better.
Punching
if you snap-
indent with your armor.
Ooh, more bacon.
Boo bacon.
Excellent.
Now you're making me hungry again. Yeah, so.
Delicious. But also the benefit of axes. If I snap a sword, I don't have a weapon
Yeah.
anymore. If I snap an axe, I literally just go to the bush next door, cut off a branch from a tree, and I have an axe again.
Yeah.
You can even use, well, talking sharp axe heads if you go camping and stuff as well. You just use the axe to carve your new axe handle,
Yeah.
stick it on there, good to go again.
You look at the long pole arms that the Russians and the Ukrainians use for international tournaments. They look like they just cut down a tree from like on site, and they're like, I found this sapling, I chopped it down, and I made an axe handle out of it.
Just whips
Pretty
people.
confident some of the teams have done that. Just drive into the tournament, like, yeah, we could do with a few more pole arms.
Yeah. Well, like you just bring an extra head in your bag. You're like, fuck it, just in
Yeah,
case.
exactly. Well, my current axe head that I'm using was just it was a wood chopping axe that my dad had spare in the shed.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, hey Bryce, I've got these 5 axe heads floating around. I'm like, yeah, sick, I can use them. Just took a grinder to it and shaped it down into a historical shaped axe, and it's good to go. Good
Can't
for
argue-
guys to
Hit by
get
that
in.
one.
Cheap and nasty. Yeah, it hurts people. It's nasty.
Once again, I don't know if I've mentioned my shoulder armor. I don't know if I've mentioned my pauldron, but still fucks.
Yeah, but I've also fixed a bunch of your armor as well, so I feel that kind of evens it out.
Yeah, you did my neck, my throat protection. Yeah.
Yeah, your throat protection I made. I re-riveted a bunch of the rivets in your helmet as well.
And my helmet was fucked, bro.
Yeah, it was trashed. Probably from me.
Yeah, it is from you, bro. Like,
I don't know
when we
what you're
fought,
talking
all the
about.
rivets came around just coming off. I was like, it'll be right.
How didn't you get a new helmet, Sam?
Yeah, from Medieval Extreme. I actually don't like it.
Yeah.
So
Where is it?
It's actually in the car.
What a cunt.
But it's actually made super well. Like it's probably the better made than my current helmet. But
Mhm.
it's just the look of it I don't like. It breathes really well. It fits amazingly. I just don't like. I don't think I can steer away from my Sugarloaf just yet. But there's nothing wrong with it. Like manufacturally, it's perfectly made. But I'm just very vain, and I like to look.
You are extremely vain, yes.
That's it, yeah. First one to admit it, yeah. And my wife is agreeing with me in the background. So.
No shit. And she would know. She deals with you.
Yeah.
And she's a lovely human being. You're both very pretty human beings, Bryce. You're a very pretty human being as well. I'm happy that I'm surrounded with beauty on my live streams. Next week I talk to Pavel, so.
What are you saying?
Pavel doesn't.
What do you
He's
mean?
not. He's not a. He is handsome in a rugged way, as am I. I look like I've been hit in the face with a frying pan about a dozen times. What do you want?
Like a half-kicked in biscuit tin.
Yeah, there you go. I'll take that. Yeah.
Dude, minty. Yeah. melted Lego piece with a live chat, someone say.
God,
That's a good one. I like that one.
that's
Yeah, you can use
hilarious.
that one, Bryce. So what final thing we got out of this talk was me and Bryce are fighting apparently. So there you go.
Yeah, when's that fight happening?
26th of March, 27th of March.
Yep.
And you're gonna live stream it, right? And you're gonna tell us about it.
Well, guess
No, it-
we're gonna have to. Oh,
I-
I didn't even plan to challenge you to a fight, but then like,
Nope.
I just feel like I was just watching my very first pro fight, which was against you. Well, Eric then knew, and you bashed me, and I was like,
We'll see if we can repeat
I don't want to repeat it, so I'm just going into my pellet straight after this. I'm just going straight into it.
I'm just gonna ground and pound you into the fucking dirt. That's all it is.
He did ground and pound me. He did ground and pound me. Why would
Although
he-
our last fight, I got the takedown on you right as the marshal's flag came in because I was gonna hurt you.
I was going to
Yeah,
hurt
actually-
you.
I get defense, got that leg sweep right as the flag came down.
Oh yeah. Oh well, I don't want to bring this up. Sorry, I know you're trying to finish, but
No,
I
fuck
have
it, let's
footage of
go.
Me bashing Bryce.
Okay, you have
Takedown.
footage. Where'd you put it? Where is it?
Actually, go to my Instagram.
Go to your Instagram. I can't go to Instagram on my laptop. You malcontent.
I'll put it on. I'll tag. I'll put it in my story. I'll tag in it. So Bryce attacks me and he trips. He misplaces his foot, but it looks like I take him down. It looks like I take him down really well, but he trips and like I know he trips because it happened to me, and he misplaced his foot behind mine and I threw him. But he tripped. But I'm taking that as a victory.
Man, you can claim
I'll take
that
it.
one. You
I'll
can,
take it.
I'll allow it.
Fuck yeah.
Jesus
Yeah, definitely,
Christ.
I can't wait to fight you guys when you come down. I really wanted to come up to Queensland for the last fight night that Tears had.
Yeah, that was sick. That
What
was
has
a good
got
fight.
closed right before we could
Yeah,
go up there.
legitimately the 5-day lockdown straight before.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Just like random,
unfortunate.
like one person gets a hold of gets the COVID and then it comes back around on you. Is that kind of how that works?
Yeah.
That's whack.
Like,
Legit, yeah.
Our government just does a stomp 5-day lockdown, and it has actually
Yeah.
been working really well to contain the spread. We're pretty
Yeah.
much COVID free, which is good.
Yeah.
And they seem to have the contact tracing in place, so they just go boom, 5-day lockdown, no one go anywhere, get control of it, and then open back up again. So it's working pretty well for us, luckily.
Yeah. I mean,
It's just was poor timing that I was going to come up and get to have a good old bash because I can't wait. It's going to be good to fight you guys. I
Yeah,
know
we could
you-
just to
you've
find
got a lot
someone
more
different.
Yeah, exactly. Fight
Yeah.
my own guys. They get, it's rinse and repeat. It's the same thing every day.
Yeah.
How much fight you guys would have been really good. So I can't wait for you guys to come down. It's gonna be awesome.
Well, little Eric is fucking jacked now.
Oh, bro. Yeah, he's been throwing some weight around.
Vegetables.
vegetables.
Lots of protein in his diet. He's got a good diet.
Is it going into his thigh intravenously?
No one knows. Nah. He's been training
He
hard.
trains
He's
hard.
good.
Yeah.
He trains very hard. But his
I,
cardio's not that good. I'm just saying.
hey, most
with
muscle
five
most
arms.
muscleheads don't have a lot of good cardio, man.
Yeah, but Eric's fit. But
He is fit. He's good. He's been getting some good training with us.
He's no Chris, like, cause fuck Chris.
oh. you Chris.
Fuck you,
Coming
Chris.
for you, Chris. I'm coming for
Apparently.
Chris and Bryce, and I'm probably gonna get bashed by both. So.
Most likely. Chris, I feel this is a challenge.
We're in danger.
I want to thank you guys for being on. I want to thank everybody in chat. We're gonna do more of these. We're gonna do more of these across the lists. Buhurt around the world. I'm probably gonna convince Sam to get on the live stream with me at some point in time. We're gonna commentate fights or some bullshit because he's a
Oh, yeah,
goofy
that'd be
fuck.
sick.
Bryce, we really should. Like, I'm gonna go and find the videos from that IMCF and get and like just have a moment.
Oh, it's embarrassing.
Dude, and then I can go and watch my the fights from Denmark, us against Ukraine, and I will feel exponentially worse. I promise you.
In my defense, one of your guys came up to me after the 5 vs 5. Apparently, I put a crack in his jaw with my falchion shot across the side of his head. He came up, he's like, "That was awesome." He's just got a black eye and bruising down the side of his face. But yeah, unfortunately, he ran away after that and took one of our fighters down, and then that was game over. So we still lost terrifically, but at least I got a good hit in.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing. I want to thank you guys. Be easy, be safe. Thanks everybody in chat. And lastly, get vicious or get the fuck out.